On this episode of Cosmic Cantina, is time travel possible? Are people who claim they've traveled in time believable? Join us as we discuss all things chronological. I'm your host, Melissa Tittle, and every week I go to my favorite bar, Cosmic Cantina, and kick back with my co-hosts, Josh Golombeski and Matt O'Connor. We talk about aliens, Bigfoot, ghosts, ancient cultures, and anything from the unseen world that needs a little illumination. Welcome to Cosmic Cantina. I'm your host, Melissa Tittle, and tonight we're drinking a beautiful Pinot Noir from Tentera Vineyards in Santa Maria, California.
Very nice.
Yummy.
I'm a Pinot guy myself. Was a strong Merlot guy for about 10 years, but switched to Pinot recently. Don't have any good reason for it. I just like it. Light-bodied, a little less thick than the Merlot. Go on, please, before I make
All
a
right,
full
great.
No, let's deep dive into this.
Yeah, let's keep going on that. Tell us more, Josh. Okay, so tonight I really want to talk about time travel. It's one of my favorite topics because there's so many good sci-fi movies and books about it. And, of course, there's everything that's super weird, doesn't make any sense, and sounds like people are making it up, to actual people trying to make time machines.
Yeah,
so I thought, let's talk about it.
Let's do it.
Over lots of good Pinot Noir.
Perfect.
So I came across the story, as always. The title is crazy, so I'm just going to read it to you. Okay. So, time travel shock. Time traveler from 2082 shows photo of dinosaur from the past. And I wish we could actually show you the picture of this dinosaur because it's very pixelated. I'm sure that if there's a really good graphics team, they could have made this. But let me keep reading.
They have poor resolution in 2082?
I just had a look at it on your screen and I was mostly unimpressed.
So if you want to look this up, the name of the article is Time Travel Shock. Time Traveler from 2082 shows photo of dinosaur from the past. So look it up. You can look for yourself. All right. Here's the story. So self-titled time traveler. He won't expose his name. This apparently happened on a BBC show. They interviewed this guy. He's completely blurred out because he's from 2082.
What, does he give like an alias?
No. Just time traveler. His name's Time Traveler.
Cool.
Okay. The anonymous man hid his identity behind a blurred face, claims to have been on a time-traveling mission into the distant past. Speaking to paranormal investigators on YouTube, the supposed time traveler says he saw living, breathing dinosaurs up close. And with his own eyes, in a confession tape for the channel Apex TV, the time traveler backs up his claim by revealing a photo he allegedly took during this era. And the photo he boasts is proof of a purple Tyrannosaurus Rex 66 million years ago. Okay.
Is it proof? Is it?
Again, if you look this up, you look at this picture, you'll be like, I don't know about that. Sounds like a made-up story. However...
I love it anyways.
Yeah. It sounds great. However, there is people, legitimate physicists, trying to figure out how time travel works. I mean, even Einstein talked about it. It's not like people haven't been figuring out how to do time travel. Specifically, a guy that I interviewed several years ago, I would say he's been working on this project for about 10 years. His name is Ron Mallett, and he's a professor at the University of Connecticut. He's an American theological physicist, and he has been building a machine where he's going to throw a photon back in time. And this machine is going to register it when it registers back in time and then come back.
Really?
Okay, sounds crazy.
This isn't one of these guys who post on Craigslist looking for volunteers to come travel back in time with him in his time machine that he built in his parents' basement. This is a legit person.
Those aren't real?
Yeah.
I tried to answer some of those. Good thing I didn't go.
I never got those jobs.
Yeah, don't go into the basement.
I don't think they wanted guys. I think they only wanted girls for time travel machine.
Here, wear this.
I thought I was going back in time. I'm going to be so cold.
Jeez.
Okay, no. This guy he's legitimate. He has a program that's being funded for space time travel. You can look up Ron Mallett. He's written a couple books.
Oh, he's funded. He has legit backing.
The machine is quite small, but he it's something we'll talk about later in this episode when we get into more sciencey crap. But basically, he talks about strong gravitational field of circulatory cylinder of light and controlling that and be able to travel through time by using this cylinder of light. So that's how he's literally sent a photon back in time, but we won't know when it's going to register until the date it's supposed to come back.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, first of all, it's exactly what I would do if I was trying to time travel.
So it's just a photon.
Same science. Just one photon?
There's no hot girl traveling back in time and then going to come back.
Huh.
It's just
so
one.
this photon's already taken off back in time?
Yes.
Interesting. And
Yeah.
when do you have the date and when it's supposed to return? So I'll put that on my calendar.
I don't actually. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'll
Man, I
update
wonder what this
everybody.
photon could tell us about where it's been.
I know. Well, it's just the idea of.
Sorry. That was good. I liked it.
Sorry, I'm getting super nerdy, and you're making fun of me.
No.
No, carry on.
Carry on. This is great.
So it's the idea of CTC, which is closed time curves. So this idea that you can create a point where this photon exists and then send it backwards, and then it comes back in a loop around the universe wherever it's supposed to go, and it comes all the way back to the same point.
Interesting.
That's a closed loop. So that's kind of what he's using as his idea of time travel.
Well, on the Daily Show, I think last night or 2 nights ago, they referenced an article and a scientist who, I don't know if he'd proven it, that or suggesting that the universe may be exactly that, a closed loop, not flat, not infinite, and just goes out forever in every direction. That if you start at one point, if you blast off from Earth in one direction, eventually, it might take trillions of years, you will come back to Earth.
At the same exact point.
It's the same exact point if you just stay in one direction.
Yeah, right.
Which is super interesting.
Which is crazy too. I think I maybe ran across the same article, but one of the things it says is this means, for example, that if you have two photons and they travel parallel in a closed universe, they will eventually meet because you just keep looping around.
Yeah.
So this idea that I think we said this before in another podcast, there's no such original idea. There's no such original material. It's all just being recycled in this massive loop.
In a constant loop cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, there's scientists now that are saying, oh, it's not true, it's flat. But here we are again. Flat versus round. We're back to the same argument.
Yeah. Well, they always describe the multiverse as being bubbles in a bath, Like everything's like closed bubble. They always explain it like that. So probably this idea of a closed loop's been around for a while. Maybe people are really finding the evidence to suggest that is real.
Right.
And now they're really testing it, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it's...
So he sent a photon through, and it's a single photon, and, I guess technically it'll survive that journey, but can people survive a journey like that?
Well.
Can a living, breathing entity?
You know what? Wait, hold on, Josh.
A chimp
I'm going to take the words
or-
out of your mouth.
Yeah.
The only thing that can travel in time is Bigfoot.
Bigfoot is, he's a time-traveling, interdimensional, awesome guy protecting us from goat demons and other dimensions.
Well, I mean, obviously,
I love Bigfoot. Yeah.
Obviously.
We already broke that news.
Yeah. Well, I love the idea that the circular loop thing, and the guy with the photon is awesome. I did deep dives on one topic we all know about. It started with just basic research. If you type in time travel on the internet, the first thing you get is most likely Project Pegasus, which is supposedly a secret government program that is kind of associated with the Montauk Project or Stranger Things, the TV show, which originally it was supposed to be called Montauk Project, and it takes place in Montauk, New York, a secret government facility.
And that's real, everybody. That really happened. Stranger Things is based on a real...
real program.
The Montauk Project. Yeah.
The Montauk Project. Well, Project Pegasus is kind of associated with that. They even have something called the Montauk Chair, which I assume is in that building.
Well, I mean, the project itself is real, but there's been a handful of people who come out of that with some really wacky stories about what they did.
Exactly.
In fact, I think Al Bielek, is that his name? Al Bielek?
Swerdlow?
He's in that group. He's in that same group.
Are we talking about Pegasus?
This is Montauk, but he also claims that as part of Montauk, I think he said he and his brother were traveled forward back in time or something.
Well, it's interesting. If you're out there and you listen to stories about the Montauk Project, what they were doing, some of it was time travel, some of it was interdimensional. I'm going to get into the different types of stuff. But this is Project Pegasus, which I'm not sure is exactly that. And Montauk Project always has a lot of fear attached to it. Anyone who's come forward is all like, oh, they're doing horrible things to children. And the TV show has made that perception even stronger. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that's not true, because I wasn't there, and the witnesses who come forward, I'm not saying they're wrong at all, believe me. But this guy who didn't run Project Pegasus, who says he was a part of it, our boy Andrew D. Basago.
Basago.
Yeah.
You might remember. Basago? Basago, okay.
No,
Basago.
Basago.
All right.
I'm going to call him... Yeah, okay. We'll just call
Andrew
him...
B.
Yeah, Andrew B, because I can't pronounce that shit.
It's Basago.
This dude ran for president.
Basago.
We know that. This dude ran for president.
Yes,
he did. He does an independent...
And he's going to do it again in 2020, too, apparently.
And one thing that he wants to push when he becomes president is he wants to make sure everybody has one egg a day. Just one. All of you deserve one egg a day.
Why do you have to say that? It just takes away all credibility,
Okay,
man.
sorry.
Not
and
you,
he's
him. Like, why do you have to go out and say that? I'm with you. Is Project Pegasus time travel? Well, this is why this guy's a little bit interesting. My research isn't really about Project Pegasus, but it sets up where I'm going. And the interesting thing about him is, one, his father was in the government and in the programs that are associated with Project Pegasus. And he claims that his father was the one who brought him into the program. Project Pegasus is many things. It's time travel and it's teleportation devices.
So he was the one that had a photograph of, was it Lincoln's inauguration or something like that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Where he was a little boy in the photo.
He was a Union Boogle boy who had
Yeah.
lost, when he got transported there, and I'll get into the tech in a second, he lost
Right.
his shoes and hat, and
Yeah.
a guy named John Lawrence Burns gave him a hat, and then this photo was taken of him by the famous photographer at the time called Josephina Cobb.
Yeah.
And then it has, you can find this picture on the internet. It's this
Yep.
kid in a coat
Yeah.
with oversized shoes. I mean, it's
Yeah,
easy.
I mean, the shoes could maybe, I mean, it's a blurry photo, obviously, to begin with.
But it's definitely a kid with oversized
It's definitely a
shoes.
kid,
Yeah.
but the shoes do kind of look a little big. But
Yeah,
they
yeah.
also
Yeah,
could be.
you know what's weird to me is like, why are kids like? Why would you send a kid back in time?
Well, I'm glad you
Yeah.
asked that. Actually,
Like, what would
there's a lot
they
of
do
fear
with-
attached to that. But according to Basago, it's not about that. Kids are just easier to project back in time forth because it's not. Adults, for some reason, mess with the technology or what they're going to do, and kids are able to take it easier. And if you train them from a young age and you get them slowly acclimated to it, they eventually, it makes it easier and easier for them to do it. So this guy's claiming it wasn't a horrible experience for him. And he was one of the ones, he went in the Montauk chair, the chair you see like in Stranger Things, but he didn't have a scary experience with it.
This needs to be like season 4 of Stranger Things.
Andrew Basago.
Yeah, a little boy
Well, so
traveling back and forth.
Basago also claimed that him and Obama were in a jump room in El Segundo, California.
Yeah.
Oh, and they
As
went to
kids.
Mars.
And they went to Mars.
Yeah,
they
that's
jumped.
right. Yeah,
So
yeah.
a jump room is where they can
Yeah.
actually time travel, teleport, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And apparently there was one. I used to know exactly like the actual address because I covered this before, but there's like a warehouse now in El Segundo, and if anybody knows El Segundo, it's like this. It's right next to the beach, but it's like where all the water treatment plants are, and it's just kind of
It's
dumpy.
industrial.
Yeah, industrial kind of area.
A lot of space stuff going on.
And that's a perfect place for a jump room.
It
know?
really is. If
Yeah.
you're going to write one in a movie, that's where you
Yeah.
put it.
Come down to the water treatment plant. We're going to take you to Mars.
No one will suspect that. Barack
Yeah.
was just like smoking cigs, fighting aliens on Mars like 30 years ago in his youth. That guy, that hot shit.
So before he started like talking crazy stuff, he was a journalist and what else? A lawyer as well.
He's
Yeah.
a lawyer for sure.
Yeah, he's a lawyer for sure. Yeah, he's definitely a
Yeah.
lawyer.
So, I mean, where did you have time to do all this? And it just seems like when you're a kid, like saying, "Oh, I did it when I was a kid," it just seems like one of those convenient things to like, "Oh, where did you fit in the time?" "Oh, I did it when I was a kid." It's like there's people who will not be named who talk about like regressing a certain amount of years backwards into their earlier bodies
Yeah.
with all the knowledge of the stuff that they did in the future and all that sort of stuff. It's just overly conveniently contrived story of.
Right. Yeah.
But I love hearing it. I'll give him that. I do love.
For some
I
reason,
do love a
I
good
trust
story.
other people's childhood stories, like yours, good sir. But his,
Yeah.
it's a little outlandish. But I'm,
Right.
I'm willing to listen. He's running for
He's
president.
been around for a long time. Andrew Basago and his story, like people have covered it in the space for a long time.
Yeah.
So he's not like new. I mean, I think it's like he hasn't changed his story. Like he's like, no, that really happened.
He's consistent.
And,
It's important.
and they also they wouldn't just go back in the past, they would go in the future. So for instance, like he knew
Right.
exactly when Obama would be president. And he said he was with the Bushes, like he's got all his contacts with all
Yeah.
the presidents. He knew exactly when they were going to get inaugurated, and
So did he make predictions of what was going to happen?
I'm
Or did
not
he only go
sure if
back in
that's
time?
posted. And it's been, and what I'm saying is, I don't know if it's posted before the actual inauguration of those presidents.
Right.
Like I like that, I don't know. I
Yeah.
do know that he did make that claim, but I'm not sure if it was
Because I think, and it's a lot. The time travels seem like a lot like a lot of the kind of the. I'll say charlatans in this field of like weirdness. As soon as you start making predictions, that's when shit goes downhill. Because 9 times out of 10, none of this stuff ever comes
Ever.
true, unless you're like.
Could be an alternate timeline, bro. You don't know.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah,
It
there
could
we
be
go.
just that,
Just make up another timeline.
they changed
Perfect.
it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was working on the wrong